be alive.
Akira. He's got clout.
If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn out tools.
Because, I mean, I'm talking with the person who gave us the AMA, gave me Blue Church, Jordan Hall.
I wasn't unmuted. There we go. Got that fixed. Good morning and welcome to the Poetry Studio. I just had some technical issues that kind of sparked right at the beginning of the stream, but that's perfectly okay. Not a atypical day for the Poetry Studio. This morning I'm going to be working on some poetry. We are returning to what hopefully will be the final draft of my poem about the news and politics and current events, which really isn't a very political poem. It's very much just a personable poem about a personal poem about how the feeling of what's kind of been going on with the world. Goodness gracious, we got musical issues all over the place. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. Third time's a charm. Welcome to the Poetry Studio. Let's get some poetry done. I am not as good as a technical person as I am a poet. Let's do some writing. Goodness gracious, that was just a silly mess back and forth of different buttons. And I had like everything set up this morning. This morning went very smoothly compared to other mornings, but sometimes you just set everything up and it still kind of gets weird on you. Background music. I'm just going through some last minute edits before I jump into typing up the poem. Don't like that line. Hello, Ed Vodka. How are you doing? I didn't see you. I was still going through the edits. Thank you so much for subscribing. Really appreciate it. That's really awesome. You let me know if you Ed Vodka launched an emote fireworks on the channel. I love that. Let me know if you would like me to write about anything particular this morning. Love the typewriters. Today I am finishing up the final edit, the perfections, hopefully. Yes, again, indeed. It is good to see you return. I was very saddened when you suddenly disappeared for a quick second, and I was like, what happened to him? But it's good to see you here. I am finishing up the last bits on a poem about watching the news, politics a little bit, and I am just replacing some extra words. I was going to say lots of pen scribble noise and not much typing. Indeed. And I probably shouldn't have the typewriter up then. This was what I was supposed to be doing before the stream, is the key right here. I have a new camera angle. I'm kind of just reset up my desk a little bit more. Make it so that you could see the typewriter a little bit better, the 1947 Royal. All of that is sitting out here. But I am literally about to jump in on this poem. Share my sense. There we go. Alrighty, I think that I'm ready to jump in on this. Thank you for the fantastic. I don't like this new paper holder that this has because it blocks the text a lot more than the other paper holders, even when I'm not doing the live stream. How have your DJ journeys been, Ed Vodka? I hope that they have been splendid. It's not going to be an actual, like, published final draft, just one for my my editor. My journeys have been good. Baka says, it's quite safe and open here in Australia, though not so much time to be staying up all night anymore. That's probably a good problem to have, I would say. Very busy with work as well. How about you and yours? We are closed and getting even more closed up here in America. But the big thing on everybody's minds has been the political drama. I don't try to stay obsessed with it, but my DJ journeys have been pretty good, actually. It was really great. I checked out a little bit of Two Tails' 24-hour stream not too long ago, I should say. And Akira is always awesome. And so I've found a renewed sense of the last 4 years. It's definitely been an extended run of this TV show. We'll just say that. But as of recently, it gets harder and harder to ignore. What I find interesting is Akira as a DJ is very good at trying not to talk about that as much during the streams. But even he's been having a tough time with it, I think, just because it's on everybody's minds. But yeah, shout out to Akira, says LJ Gibbons. Yes. Yes, the season finale tomorrow. I do believe it's, or no, I guess it is tomorrow. I thought it was today. Well, I have all my days wrong. The season finale tomorrow. Indeed. LJ Gibbons, welcome to the stream. So good to see you here. Yeah, so this poem is kind of a, and I wish that I need to get myself a better camera for up here. This poem is a kind of a conversation about that drama. Is kind of the feeling of trying to avoid the news, but also kind of stay informed and also stay positive, but also kind of the toxic nature of it all. That's the idea behind it. Put that there. Upload the webpage. LJ Gibbons says, I see your name pop up in the Akira stream. Nice to put a face to the name. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And it is good to see you kind of come in here. Yeah, I do poetry, typewritten poetry in the mornings. Before his stream, I find as a writer, it's very important to kind of do this morning words ritual, getting up, immediately entering into the creative mindset. And because that kind of sets my day, even if I'm not writing any more poetry for the rest of the day. Luke Ford, I'm going to write that down. Luke Ford is my YouTube's channel. So then I will be able to put a face to your name. And then when your chat pops up in my Twitch channel, then we will imagine our faces. We will use that insightful power to do that. Golly gee, it's snowing outside. That's interesting. Citratedge sent me here. Yeah, he's really awesome. He's a cool pal. And I do take requests. So if there's anything that you're curious about, what I love to do is I love to do poetry spontaneous on the spot. Oh, so you said I get a face on there soon. Well, I can imagine in the meantime what you might look like, though I have no clue. Yeah, this channel is just all about kind of, fostering creativity. That's why I call it the studio. We've had people come in here before who also read poetry, who share their own poetry, have ideas, questions. It's all about, it's not about supposed to be something where it's like, oh, come check out my work. It's more that like, it's an open creative space on the internet, if there ever was one. And the sweet music is always Akira the Dawn instrumentals. Like, that's just basically all I play. Occasionally, I'll start off with a real song, and this morning I did, because of the drama that's been happening politically. I figured that Rudyard Kipling's "If," written by Jocko Willink, would be appropriate for the moment. LJ says, great poem. This is the first stanza for "I Stopped Watching the News." It originally started with, instead of calling my mother, I find myself sitting on Facebook. And my editor suggested that I kind of cut to the quick on it. And so, you kind of get a nice jab from the start. I am scrolling through Facebook, sucked into the dark void of endless news feed with the rest of the world. Once I finish the poem, then we will get to reading it. Do you do any sort of writing or music or artistic or anything in terms of that? Like, what is your LJ? Do you have a creative spirit you like to put out into the world, or even tuck into little unseen notebooks, or do you just enjoy the reading and the enjoying of any sort of art, like Kira's music? You know what? This is what happens. L.J. Gibbons loves reading, loves writing, and yes, was inspired by J.B.P. Watts McKenna Eck to write an album. Holy smokes, that's awesome. Dude, that sounds really cool. Excited to hear it, because I am sure that is going to be manifest to existence if it hasn't already. I haven't checked out your YouTube channel yet. Hey, what genre is it? Is it Meaning Wave-esque? Is it like rap or hip hop or rock music? That's cool. The entire album. Yeah, I couldn't. When I first started doing this, it was very weird. My first summer that I ever did this, I was approached. He says, "No big deal." No, that's awesome. That's really cool. But yeah, I don't know why you're saying that question mark, no big deal. When I first started doing this with the poetry, I ended up was approached by several people to try to write music. Not necessarily music, but to write song lyrics. And I found that I couldn't do it. What I could do is I could write poetry, which people could then take and they could hack up and make into their own lyrics. But the lyric side of things just didn't jive with me. It wasn't something I felt comfort in. I even met with some people on it. It was a whole thing. But I think that's really cool that you're doing that album. A research question. LJ said, I posted videos but delete them because of the recording quality. Well, I'm a big fan myself, actually, of lo-fi. Like, literal lo-fi. I had, oh, goodness, what's the name of that band? Have you ever heard of the Mountain Goats? I mean, that guy basically got record deals by recording on cassettes when he started. And, like, they just moved forward with it, and he just recorded entire albums on cassettes. cassettes. So, you know, but he was also doing stuff with guitar and all those things. But, I mean, I think that the great thing is that you've started creating, even if they're not necessarily front to the public. You put your stuff out there, and you put your creative work out there, and you experiment, and you know, the great thing about one of the things I love about poetry is that it delights me. You know, so yeah, I do it for myself sometimes. Honestly, there's entire reams of words that I haven't shown anybody that I just work on myself, and that makes it fun too. So, well, I hope to one day be able to hear more of your music. I always love checking out new creators, and especially creators within the Maz community. And reading, of course, is a fantastic pastime. One line. Well, thank you as well very much for your presence here. It does mean a lot. You know what? Because you guys are so awesome. Hey, Max. So we have a little special thing here called the doggo cam. Let me put on the doggo cam. There's our doggo cam. Right now you're kind of getting a good check of his butt. But this is my Pomeranian Max. I like to feature him sometimes, just because it's fun to get the little floof ball onto the internet. Except he seems to just be standing there right now. But he'll turn back around. This is Max. There he is. Now he's just sniffing around looking for more treats. Here, Max, how about this? Oh, yeah, he doesn't like to stay there as much as he should like to stay there because that's his treat place. Alrighty. Now, I will warn in advance, this is not a fun poem, but the point is that I like writing a lot of uplifting stuff, but this poetry is kind of my way of helping cope with the confusion of modern media, politics, things like that. And it's been read before, so this may sound somewhat familiar, but this, I have to say, is my final copy. I would have to be very heavily convinced by my editor to not make this my final copy. But before we read, L.J. Gibbons had put a poem in here, it looks here. There's sweet music here, that softer falls on the petals from blown roses on the grass, or night dews on still waters between walls of shadowy granite in a gleaming pass. Music that gentler on the spirit lies on tired eyelids upon tired eyes. Music that brings sweet sleep down from the blissful skies. That's wonderful. Did you just come up with that on your own? Was that like your, my wife was just saying goodbye. Did you just come up with that? That's beautiful. That is indeed a beautiful description of the music. And I mean, if people come here for that Akira instrumental backing, kind of over talk and typewriter, hey, I love that. I love to be a part of that. I do lower the music when I do my readings. And so it was fitting that you ended up, and it was also the new Watts Wave instrumentals, which are some of Akira's finest work, honestly, especially on the instrumental side. This is I Stopped Watching the News. I am scrolling through Facebook, sucked into the dark void of the endless newsfeed with the rest of the world. We are searching for a light at the end of the tunnel vision, searching for a story that makes sense, the bottom of the webpage. Where is Walter Cronkite when you need him? Truth like a lost stream, a hoped gem between my nightmares. But instead, when I close my eyes, talking heads of donkeys and elephants shatter my sanity, debating the very ground we walk upon. I listen in nightly silence after all the blue light disappears. My anxiety a seismograph seeking the tectonic tremors of each human heart. But I cannot hear soft, genuine footsteps, as my head is split open by the pounding of wannabe titans. Everyone a pundit of power, bending black mirrors from pockets to focus the wrath of Ra, to burn our mortality away, incinerating the only humanity we have left. I am praying for Walter Cronkite's return. Help me remember the prophecy of bipartisan understanding scrawled into parchment, making sense of the party lines burning like napalm through the forests. But he is dead, cold as the polished metal of our computer morgue towers. That was I Stopped Watching the News. LJ says that is a poem on his son's wall, poem I'd like him to read. Well, your poem, the one that you put into the chat, is a beautiful homage to the beauty of music. And I think that's wonderful that you have that for your son there. LJ Gibbons' reaction is, bam! I like that you said bam. I really like it because that's the whole point of the end. In the first iteration of this poem started as a poem that I wrote like in 24 hours for a cabaret reading. So my wife does musical theater. There's a musical theater group. She has a cabaret reading. I read a version of this poem for that, and in that poem, Walter Cronkite didn't die. It's the way I put it to my editor, because I didn't want to upset people. But I realized that it's important to focus on that. because it helps us move forward. It's a funny thing about death is one of the hardest things to deal with, but it's also a very permanent thing. So it allows us to say, okay, what's next? And we work through that every day, grappling with the desire for things to be present that aren't. So I hope that it strikes the right tone. LJ Gibbons says, you took me on a ride. Nice one. And I am glad that it worked out that way. This was wonderful stream. I took a long time working through this poem, and I thank everybody that stuck around for it. Shout out to Ad Vodka for the subscription. Again, really, really appreciate it. We had that beautiful logo of the... I have the wrong screen. I don't think that the alert box can be displayed. How sad. We had that beautiful GIF of an Oliver typewriter typing on. If anybody ever wants to bring on that Oliver typewriter, it's a redeemable reward. We have some pretty cool rewards in the chat. And LJ Gibbons says, yeah, it's a time that's gone by for sure. And that's part of the whole aura of this poem is that nostalgia for a more collaborative feel in both America and the media. And now the media is, if anything, is an extremely divisive force. Not necessarily on their own accord. I don't want to make any I don't want to pontificate on it. But the point is there's trouble afoot everywhere, and it has a feel in that power. Sounds like you are into astral projection to me. I've heard that phrase before, and I want to make sure I get it right what it is before I say yes or no. So I'm Googling it. Unless you mean something more specific, like a band or... Astral projection is a term used in esotericism to describe an intentional out-of-body experience. It assumes the existence of a soul consciousness called an astral body that's separate from the physical body, capable of traveling outside of it through the universe. Then yes, I would say I am. I think that the way that I would answer that question is that I hope to... So Akira's thing, so if you watch Akira's streams, his big thing is hyperproductivity. To think about connecting with every human's heartbeat. Yeah, that's a good line there. And it's a powerful line, the tectonic tremors of each human heart. I realized that the reading of that line when I wrote it, I meant like, it was actually tucked in a couple of lines originally, which was about walking down the street and seeing this person and that person. But when it's in the revisions, it's become a more powerful line of, am I connecting to all people? Wow, man, that hit different. So Akira's big thing is hyperproductivity. One of the things I am trying to endeavor for slowly, not saying I'm anywhere close to it now, is something I would call hyperempathy. Really just trying to take the empathetic mindset, and to be able to really read deeply into more individuals, the more that you can, I guess. I don't know if that's a very good definition of hyper empathy, but that is kind of where that line comes from. And when you describe astral projection, I go, yeah, of course. I want to be able to go beyond the physical limits of my body, because the physical limits of my body receive electrons from the world. I see things. I kind of get some smells. I can process a little bit mentally, but I see someone come up to me and ask for a poem, and I do poems on the spot, and I go, what is going on in this person's life? What is it like when they leave here, when they go home, when they spend, someone tells me that they want a poem for their mother. What was that mother's childhood like? I'm traveling time and space with these words as best as a poet can. And so my hope is to be, to try to expand on that hyper empathy And just like how Akira's kind of developed almost a discipline for the hyper productivity, I could develop a discipline for the hyper empathy. And be able to kind of create a way for people to connect better and more with those around them. That's the hope. LJ, it has been amazing to be on the stream here with you. You have, that's what a lot of times the stream turns into, is it turns into a great one-on-one back and forth. It's the cool thing about this is it's just wonderful to be able to create and have people with you, and even just to be able to have this moment in the morning to create. You know, the ancestors did not have typewriters, let alone the early morning ability to be able to write. They usually were out in the fields at this point already pooping in a hole, as Akira would say. So it is wonderful to be here. Thank you again so much. I'm going to close out the stream. I will see you around in the Meaning Wave Autonomous Zone, and rock on. Have a wonderful day. And for anyone that's catching this on the replay, thank you very much for watching. 7 a.m. every morning here at the Poetry Studio.